Hey everybody, welcome to the Civil PE StudyCast. This is the live webinar prior to the PE exam coming up. This is the fall of 2014. Hope everybody's doing well tonight, and just wanted to take a few minutes here. Of course, Andy Richardson here, and want to take a couple minutes just to give you a few pointers, tips, and maybe some encouragement for the PE exam to kind of get you over the hump. So I've got a little PowerPoint presentation. If you'll just give me a second, I'll pull that up. And how's everybody doing tonight? We got a chat room over here in the right you can utilize, and that chat room just allows you to communicate with me. There is a short delay of a few seconds that just because of the way the technology we have here, but you can chat with me, ask me some questions about the PE, civil PE if you want, or maybe just exam strategy tips and that sort of thing. And then I'm going to focus on right now just some tips and strategies, and then from there, if you have specific questions, I'll be glad to address those as well. We'll take 10 minutes maybe after that. Looks like we have one issue maybe about a few seconds ago I got here, and it was a private message. But yeah, it looks like maybe there might be an issue with that. But go ahead and let me know if you're able to hear it now, because I was running just a minute behind, so maybe that was the issue. So let me know if it takes a minute. It should work with the iPad though, and any other technology, even the iPhone. I've used it before and watched it on that, so it should work in both environments. And I'm going to pull up my basically a Keynote for the Macintosh, and we'll see how this goes with that. Okay, so I've got my Keynote up, and so PE exam day tips, part of the Civil PE StudyCast, and reach your dream of becoming a professional engineer. That's one of my own quotations, and that's what we're here to do. Of course, really what we're here to do is you all want to be successful on the PE exam, but maybe right now you're a couple days away from the PE exam, and you might be sweating bullets about the exam. So that's what we want to help you do, is get across that hurdle of the PE exam, or that obstacle, and we're going to give you some PE exam day tips, strategies, and some encouragements in order to scale the obstacle known as the PE exam. So one thing that I think can be helpful for that is the acronym I call CFM, which doesn't mean cubic feet per minute or something else, but it means cool, focused, and methodical. So we can boil down a strategy on exam day to help you be successful into that acronym. The C stands for cool, calm, and collected, and we'll go into each one of these here. F means focused, and M means methodical. So what does that really mean? If you just take a minute during the exam and just think about, not during the exam, but maybe just prior to the exam, to think about what this acronym means, then I think it could help you during the exam. So let's go through each one. First of all, confident, or the first C is the confident, cool, calm, and collected. It could be illustrated in a few different ways, but the main way is that you're confident is really how you get that the cool, calm, and collected aspect of things. And in order to do that, you just want to get your head on straight. Here's a quotation. It says, 98% of success is in the head and the heart. And I told you I was going to give you some encouragement. And so this is a little bit of encouragement today, which is to get your head on straight. First of all, you want to let the pressure of the exam, let that go away a little bit, and understand that it is actually okay to fail the exam. And I know one or two of you in the room here may have already failed the exam, and you know what? You've already dealt with that. You've kind of put that behind you, maybe, for some of you that have failed it. And now you just need to focus on the success and get your head on straight, get your heart right. So that's part of it, is getting your head right for the exam. The first time I took the exam, I actually was able to pass it, but at the first about 20, 30 minutes, I got real spastic for some reason. And I think a lot of it had to do with the pressure of the exam itself and letting it get to me, because everybody in my office prior to me taking the exam had actually passed it already. And so I didn't want to fall into that same, I didn't want to be the first person that failed the PE exam. And so I did have a little bit of pressure on me. So don't let that pressure get to you. There is no asterisk with your PE. If you have to take it again, it's really okay. Just, you want to do the best you can. That's really the key. Um, just going to check the chat room here. Just take a second and see if anybody has any questions or anything. Of course, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'd be glad to take a look at those. Um, so back with the slides, and next up we have enjoy the process, which sounds like a little bit of a weird thing to say about the PE exam, but this quotation may put it in perspective a little bit. It says, "People rarely succeed unless they have fun in what they are doing," by Dale Carnegie. And so I want you to actually find some enjoyment. Now, you went to get your engineering degree for some reason. You were good at math, you enjoyed science, and you went into this field for a reason. Hopefully, you enjoy your work and you enjoy the engineering field. So try to enjoy the process along the way and actually look at it as somewhat of a game, maybe, so that each question you answer right is like a check mark or another step toward getting that certification of the PE certification. Also, part of the C, or the cool, calm, and collected portion of it, is being prepared. So a few little practical tips that are more, the first two are more mental, enjoy and get your head on straight, but also part of it is being prepared. Now, you've spent the past 3, 6 months maybe preparing as far as getting you know, learning the problems, learning to do the work. But now you want to do a little more practical things, like just having the right materials for the exam. Obviously, you should have all your books already, but this might be, spend this last day, Thursday, tomorrow, or two, just, trying to find, maybe scramble to get a book or two from the office or from a friend. See if you can get some of those books that maybe might help you with one question or two questions on the exam. But you want to bring the right things into the exam room. Of course, um, don't bring certain electronics that aren't allowed, and know what to bring, what not to bring. And you can check our website and the NCAAS for those things. But make sure you're bringing the right things. Make sure you have your ID and your letter from your state allowing you into the exam room, because if you don't get into the exam room, you're certainly not going to pass. So make sure you have the right things. Somebody asked me today, about a scale, a straight edge. Think about the little thing, and I don't know that you would necessarily need a scale, but it's certainly a straight edge could be useful from time to time, and maybe a bottle of water, a bottle of ibuprofen or Tylenol if you tend to get headaches. Think about things like that that might help give you an edge during the exam. If you just need a cool bottle of water to keep you sharp, might be helpful. But one thing and one tip about being confident during the exam is, don't really talk about the exam prior to it with other people, because the only thing you're going to do is just get nervous and think, oh, well, I didn't study that, or I didn't do that, and I'm going to fail. So just stay away from those type discussions prior to the exam. Now, I think it can be helpful for some people, depending on your personality, to talk to others and mingle. I think it personally can be helpful, but it depends on your personality trait, frankly. All right, let me just see how our do we got any other questions? Looks like the slide may have turned off, so some of those slides may not be coming through. Apparently, whenever I put it up in slideshow mode, so I apologize for that. Let me when I go to Keynote next time, I just won't put it into. Are you able to see it when I? Are you able to see that? I would presume. Normally, I use a little bit different method, obviously, when I do my slides, so maybe that was my demise. But I'll just run through. I won't run through all the content, but I will at least show you what the slides were. Um, Here's the intro slide. Just reach your dream of becoming a professional engineer, and then you all want to be successful, like this guy right here with all the money. But you may be sweating bullets, like this guy, and at the same time, we want to get over the obstacle of the PE exam. In order to do that, you can remember this acronym CFM, or the C has a few different terms: cool, calm, and collected, or just in order how to do that, we can be confident as well. So a few different things, but cool, calm, and collected is the C. The F is focused, and the M is methodical. And then the first one, so then we have the confident. Here's two quotations: the one to get your mind right from Kathy Ferguson, the one from Dale Carnegie. And then here's a few things about what to bring into the exam room. So it looks like that helped, and I apologize for that, but I guess that's technology for you. Uh, okay, so next up we have focused. So confident, focus, CFM. Bruce Lee said the successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. So you didn't know the PE exam was going to bring Bruce Lee into the equation, but in fact, if you're focused on the exam and focused during the exam, it can be like a laser. A laser is just light, which light is not very in itself, doesn't do a whole lot except keep us, you know, it does help us see and it does keep us warm, but lasers can do both of those things, but also because it's focused intensity, it can do amazing things like laser surgery, weapons. And it says the successful warrior is like the average man with laser-like focus. So being focused can make you even better. How do you stay focused on the exam? Well, first of all, you want to be sharp. And in order to be sharp, you need to have your mind sharp, your body sharp. In order to do that, you need to obviously be getting good rest. So right after this webinar, hopefully you're going to be getting rested up for the evening and get settled in for the evening. And then that way because 2 nights before the exam is when your sleep matters the most, believe it or not. So tonight is just as important, if not as important. It's just as important, if not more important, than tomorrow night before the exam. So 2 nights before is just as important as the night before in terms of sleep. Maybe want to think about the breakfast you eat can be helpful in getting your mind. Protein tends to be more brain food, whereas carbohydrates slow you down. But the next thing in terms of being focused is actually, reading the problems carefully, thinking about the knowns, thinking about the unknowns, being focused on what is actually being asked on each individual problem. Be like this laser beam. Be focused. You go back through, make sure your units are right, check the answer, and then read it again and make sure you did it properly. Hopefully you don't have to do a problem again because that wastes time, which is why you want to read the problem carefully to begin with. Okay, so being focused, so confident, focused, and then next up is methodical. With methodical, I want you to have an approach to each problem, have an approach to the exam itself, and of course during the process be mindful of time. This picture just shows 2 pathways, and it just means you can take several different pathways to get to the same endpoint, but have a pathway, have a method for approaching each problem and to the exam itself. So first of all, for each problem, one of my colleagues recommends that you read the problem carefully, then read it again to make sure you understood what you were looking for, then solve the problem, thinking about what it's asking you, thinking about what the knowns are in the problem, what the unknowns are in the problem, assuming it's a mathematical type problem. Now, if it's a qualitative problem, then you just answer it accordingly, but still go through that process. It's a brief process to read the problem twice, but it can be very helpful to do so. Then have an approach to the entire exam. Now, different people have a different approach to this as far as, some people prefer to go through it, each individual problem sequentially and just chug right through it. And then if they come to a they come to a very difficult problem, then they may skip it and come back to it. Another product, and so that one's fine. And then another tip that a colleague gave me with regard to the kind of, if you want to call it sequential method, is to actually put a number beside it, maybe 1 to 10 or maybe 1 to 3, with maybe 1 being low confidence and 10 being high confidence. Just put it on the actual practice problem, not the practice problem, but the problem booklet that you're given by the NCSS. In other words, the question booklet that actually has the questions in it. Just put a little number beside each question of 1 to 10 and say, this is I feel 10 means I feel great about it, and I don't really need to come back and check it because I feel that good about it. Whereas 1 means I have no clue. Somewhere around a 6 or 7 means I feel pretty good about it, but I might want to check my work. And then that gives you a way to, when you're checking through it, doesn't take that long just to write a 1 or a 10 beside it to know what your confidence level is. Just a little tip to keep in mind. Now, as another tip, some of you may prefer to use what I call the 3-pass system. It worked great for me when I took the Civil PE exam and also the Structural 1 PE exam, and I was able to pass both by using the what I call the 3-pass system. 3-pass system basically is breaking the exam down into 3 distinct aspects, or 3 passes. The first pass is when you just go through the exam and work all the easy problems that really you don't have to even open a book for. You either know the formula in your head, or it's a qualitative problem that you can answer immediately. And you've skimmed through the entire exam. In doing so, you've also answered maybe 10 of the questions in that either morning or afternoon part of the exam. Hopefully you have 8 or 10 questions that you can get through, and that first pass, but you've also kind of got a feel for the entire exam. The second pass is going to be the bulk of it. Hopefully you can get about 20 questions done in that pass, and that's going to be your average 6-minute problems that you're going to do in that second pass. It's going to be the problems that you will have to indeed go to, find a formula that you know where to find it in the book. You have it tabbed probably in one of your books, or maybe a core reference book that you're using. You have it tabbed, you have it highlighted exactly what the formula is, but you want to make sure you have, say, Manning's formula written down properly. And so that would be the second pass. You just work through each one of those, and then you may want to still put a little confidence level beside it. That's just 2 different approaches you can use. And then the third pass with the 3-pass system is basically wrapping up the rest of the problems, doing checking. And some of those problems in that last pass, hopefully you'll have less than 10 problems in that last pass, and you'll have at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half, to work on those harder problems that are either really difficult and you know how to do, but you know that they're just really difficult. Maybe a moment distribution problem in structures, or maybe a 3 reservoir system in hydraulics, something of that nature. Or it may be a problem you just don't even know how to do or don't have a clue, and you're going to have to do some research and reading. It might take 10 to 15 minutes to do, but just realizing that each one of those you get right is just going to be a step toward passing the exam. Any one of those could be the difference between passing and failing. So you want to take your time with those, but try to get as many of those in the third pass as you can. And of course, be mindful of time no matter which approach you take. And obviously, go with whatever approach you prefer, either sequential, 3-pass, or whatever approach that you feel comfortable with. But those are just 2 suggestions, okay? And in any of the approaches you take, just be mindful of the time that you have. You would want to take an approved stopwatch or just wristwatch into the exam room that doesn't have an alarm, because that can get you into trouble with the proctor. So just be mindful of time, though, is the basic fact there. You don't want to just have the proctor tell you 5 minutes left and you scramble to get the last few questions done. So those are a couple tips as far as being methodical. So we have confident, focused, and methodical. But I would say if I had to pick one, I would say confidence is really the key. I want you to believe in yourself. You are very smart people. You've got an engineering degree. You passed the FE exam, and you came right up to taking the PE, and all you have to do now is just go in there and kill the exam, basically. I want you to believe in yourself. And here's a quotation. It says, if you have a purpose in which you can believe, there is no end to the amount of things you can accomplish. And based on a couple of you that are in the exam room, I've dealt with a few of you. I know you because of those dealings, and I feel that you're capable in passing the exam, but I think confidence is possibly part of the issue here. So I would like to encourage you that you can do it. And just remember, this may sound like a silly encouragement, but the person that wrote these exam questions is not much different from you. They're just an engineer that happened to pass the PE exam. And you just think about that person as you're taking these problems and realize, hey, I can answer that because um, it's just another engineer just like me that wrote these questions for the most part. So there's nothing special about these exam questions. You've done the work, you've got the engineering degree, you've got the experience, and now you just got to have a good showing. And let's hope that you get a good batch of questions, because it may be that that was the issue. If you have failed before, maybe that was the issue, is you just didn't get a fair batch of questions. And by fair, I mean they could have pulled. There's a possibility of, say, 1,000 questions or maybe more of the civil engineering body of knowledge, or if you're taking a different exam, I suppose, uh, from that body of knowledge as well. So just hope that you get a good batch of questions, because that is indeed part of it. Um, and with that, I just want to wish everybody best wishes on the PE exam coming up this week and this Friday. And my quotation here of myself is, reach your dream of becoming a professional engineer. That's my desire for each one of you, and I hope the best for you on this coming up Friday. And I'll leave it open if anybody has any questions. Now would be the time for that, about the PE exam, be it specifically as far as the civil PE exam, or just strategies, anything of that nature. I'll just leave it open for just a few minutes here. It's 24 after the hour, my time, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull up I guess I'll turn off this whiteboard and pull myself up. Okay, and I'm back now. It's just my talking head, just to say good night to everybody, but also give you just a second or two. There is a bit of a delay, so I'm just going to give you a few seconds here to think through that. But just remember those things: cool, focused, and methodical. It's a bit of an acronym to help kind of pull together all the test strategies that I can think of, and really that have helped me pass 2 PE exams. Again, the ones that I've taken, it's helped me, and I just wanted to offer that little bit of advice I had to help you on exam day. And that's really all I have as far as test taking strategies. I don't know if anybody has any questions related to uh, taking the exam itself, maybe the civil exam, maybe a few last minute questions you may have. But obviously, if you do, you know how to get a hold of me, and I look forward to hearing all the positive results. Let me know what the positive results are, or if you have negative results, let me know those too. But I'm believing in you, and I believe we're just going to hear the former, which is positive results. And I don't see any questions right now, so I'm going to say that I'm going to guess that everybody's good to go, and they're confident in their exam taking skills, and they're going to do very well. And so everybody, good night. Get a good night's rest tonight. Remember, good night's rest on Thursday. Go in there and ace the PE exam. See you, everybody, and good night.